with Craig Button, our Director of Scouting, joining us from a beautiful hotel somewhere in Truro, Nova Scotia, where he's watching Canada's under-18 men's hockey team. Craig, let's start with the Leafs. Massive comeback on home ice. Here's the issue. They had nothing going in the first two periods of this game. I mean, nothing going, just 8 shots on goal. But they did come back to win. Having said that, is this a recipe for success over the course of the season?
Jay, you know the answer to that. Everybody knows the answer to that. The Leafs know the answer to that, even despite coming back and winning this game. That, quite frankly, they were terrible for 40 minutes. They got some breaks, took advantage of them. You want to play like this, you want to start your game like this and get behind like this, you're not going to win. Listen, they're an average team right now, the Toronto Maple Leafs. And the Pittsburgh Penguins have had this fantastic start to the season, but they're not a team that is a contending team. And I don't think the Toronto Maple Leafs are a contending team either. And you start to look at Nylander and Matthews, who bailed them out in the third period, who were invisible in the first 2 periods, along with the rest of the group. If it's not for Anthony Stolarz at different points in this game, it's not even close. But when you look at the Toronto Maple Leafs, give them credit for finding a way to win in the third period. I would love to have known what Craig Berube said during the second and third periods, because you know that he was none too happy. But when you look at this team, defensively, they're worse than they were last year. The goaltending hasn't been as good this year. The power play's awful. We talk about the absence of Mitch Marner. It's affected the offense. This is simply not a contending team right now for a Stanley Cup, and they're going to be in a dogfight for the playoffs.
Edmonton, their up-and-down season continues as well. They lose to St. Louis. In fact, 7 of their 8 losses this season, Craig, have been against teams that did not make the playoffs last season. What do you make of this Oilers team 14 games into the season?
What I make of this Oilers team, Jay, is a team that has lots of gaps in it. It has gaps on the blue line. It has gaps in the goaltending. It has gaps up front. Now, I understand that Stan Bowman is trying to find a way. He trades for Matty Savoy. He trades for Isaac Howard. He tries to sign some free agents. But quite frankly, those gaps up front are impacting their play 5-on-5. We know how great McDavid and Draisaitl are. Zach Hyman's going to return to the lineup. But, Jay, I'm going to be very clear here. You know, the summer of 2024, when they lost Broberg, they lost Holloway, they traded McLeod, and then they lost Warren Fogle. I mean, it's something they're never going to get over. They're simply not going to get over it. They had a really strong team. And, yeah, they went to the Stanley Cup final last year. I hope people don't think that they were closer to winning the Stanley Cup last year than they were the year before, because 2 years ago they were closer. Last year, you know, they could have lost in the first round to the LA Kings. Again, McDavid, Draisaitl bailed them out. You know, they're celebrating league average goaltending right now in Edmonton, because that's how it's come up a little bit. League average goaltending isn't going to win you, and their lack of depth, relying on too few players to do too much, isn't going to help you. They got work to do, and I would have to suggest that Stan Bowman's got to be looking at a lot of different options right now, because what he's clearly seeing right now is the players he brought in, they're not contributing very much. Now, they might be ready in a little bit of time. Connor McDavid's not waiting for a little bit of time. He wants to get to a place where they can compete for a Stanley Cup.
And then the Canucks, they beat the Preds in overtime, Craig. And, you know, I know there was some concern about Elias Pettersson and his start to the season. He gets 2 assists on Monday night, including the assist on Besser's OT winner. How about you? How do you think EP40 looks so far this season?
He's had some good moments. I mean, the winning goal is a really good example. He fights through the check. He finds a way to get his stick on the puck, never gives up, and the puck squirts to Brock Besser. They win the game. So those are the good signs. I'm a big believer that when EP40 is engaged and initiating, he can be dangerous. But here's a couple of the numbers that tell you a big story where he's capable of much more, and he hasn't lived up to what the contract expects him to be. Going into this game, he had 4 inner slot shots and 4 slot shots through the start of the season. Kiefer Sherwood, 11 inner slot shots, 13 slot shots. That's double going into this game. Kiefer Sherwood. So if Elias Pettersson wants to find a way to be more productive offensively, he's going to have to dig in a lot harder. He's going to have to push into that slot area, what I call inside hockey, playing to the net, inside the dots. When he does, he can be a very dangerous player. When he doesn't, there's going to be continuous questions about his ability to live up to the contract. So you see some glimpses, some positive signs in this one, including on the winning goal. He's got to put a lot more of those together to gain the faith of the people in the Vancouver Canucks organization and their fan base.
Craig, go ahead and order room service and charge it to the company, because I'm going to need you to stick around later in the show. I'm going to ask Craig about the return of Jets captain Adam Lowry to the lineup on Tuesday night. That's later on SportsCenter.